Gabby, you've called in amazing women in the Las Comadres community.
Oh my God, yes, Jamie.
I want to know more about how they made it.
Yes, right? They're real stories. Where the idea for their business came from, how they invested in it, how they got their clients.
I think this is a podcast.
Well, fairy godmother, you're hosting it.
Do you dream about me? Welcome to the Las Comadres podcast. We are so excited to have Veronica Marquez here from Dinner Confidential. She's part of our Las Comadres community, and she's an inspiring, amazing woman who's up to some big things. We are really thrilled to be here to share and learn from her today. Hi.
Hi, and thank you for having me.
Thanks for coming. So can you give us a short little bio on yourself, how you got here, how Dinner Confidential started?
Yes, so my professional background is in market research and brand consultancy. I worked for over 10 years in innovation, basically helping big brands develop new products and new positionings. And I traveled the world talking to people about how they engage with different products and how different brands, what's the role of different brands in their lives. And I literally went from Singapore to Mexico, Canada, all around the world. And it was really wonderful. But I always felt that there was something missing there for me. I was really interested in the stories of the people, but when it was time to really think about the opportunities for the businesses, I didn't feel that I was feeling as excited. So that's in the background of what was happening in my life. And besides that, at one point, particularly after having children and finding myself with less time to be with my friends, to be with my girlfriends, to connect at that deep level, I was feeling a little bit lost. And I really wanted to have these conversations with other women, things that I was personally struggling with. And I didn't know if I was alone. I knew I wasn't alone, but I really wanted to connect and hear other women's experiences around that, around those same topics. So it took me a long time. I actually, 1 year, I decided to invite all my girlfriends or a group of girlfriends for dinner. Some of them, they didn't know each other, hoping that we would be able to have these very deep, intense philosophical conversations. But the usual happened. We divided into small groups. We talked about relationships, then we jumped into talking about movies, and we jumped into talking about politics, all random things, and then smaller groups divided. So I realized, okay, I need to kind of orchestrate this. It took me a long time. I think it literally took me almost a year to gain the courage to send an email to a group of women in New York. I was living in New York at that point, inviting them into my house to talk about self-confidence. I invited them for 3 dinners: self-confidence, fear, and the role of social media in their lives. And I was really surprised of the positive response. So many women showed up. So many women wanted to attend. And the first dinner, which was self-confidence, I really didn't have much of a plan. I just wanted to have a conversation. And because I'm a researcher and I'm used to conducting very intimate conversations, I created some sort of a flow of the evening. And then I found myself at the end of the night wanting to write my learnings in the same way that I used to do for my work, and then share those learnings with the community. And then I realized actually a big part of these dinners is not just the connection, but it's also sharing what we learn, not sharing any personal stories, but really sharing what we learn to really spread that wisdom with the community. And that's how it started. That's like the beginnings of Dinner Confidential. And since then, it wasn't even Dinner Confidential back then. It was a women's circle that I was just calling it. And that's and anyway, there's a long journey that I'll be happy to tell you as well.
Awesome. So in the beginning, it was, I mean, the first one obviously was just sort of like, I want to have my friends over and I want to have deep conversation. Didn't go that way. So then you're like, okay, I want to do this with the topic. Did the people stay on topic?
Yeah, so even the first dinner was on topic. The first dinner was self-confidence. That was the first topic. And I asked the woman to come and introduce themselves from two perspectives. One, the very confident perspective, their confident persona, when they really feel proud of themselves, and then introduce themselves from their doubt.
Oh, I love this.
So it was really interesting. We went around the table and we each introduced ourselves from both of those perspectives. And we did stay on topic. I really made sure that the questions and the conversations were around that topic specifically. And I think all of the women were interested because we all suffer from imposter syndrome or doubt, and we rarely get to talk about it in such dedicated space.
Yeah, definitely. No, I think that I love the idea behind this, as well as the fact that you have grown it into such a really cool thing. So from the first dinner, where'd you go?
So the first dinner went into, there were 3 dinners at the beginning, once a month. And at the end of that third dinner, which was how do we deal with our fears, which was a very intense and profound dinner, each woman sharing really what are their deepest fears. I realized, okay, I want to continue doing this. This is something that I want to continue doing. So I sent another email for 3 more dinners. And I was expecting, honestly, an avalanche of responses. I said to people, I'm sorry if I cannot accommodate everybody, because I was getting so much positive response. And at the first email I sent, it was only to about like 27 women that I knew from work, friends. The second email I sent it to a wider group, and then pretty much nobody responded. I got only 2 responses.
Oh
no! Only 2 people signed up. And I really, it was hard for me not to take it personally. At the beginning, I was feeling, what happened? I'm just very confused. I was getting all this great feedback. I got so much from these dinners. What's going on? And luckily that week, I came to Miami to visit my dearest friend. And I was telling her all of this. And she said, well, maybe you have to look at the stars and where was the moon when you sent that email, and let's find a different sign. And I'm like, okay, is this something, maybe there's something that I need to do again. I cannot give up. It was easy for me to think that, okay, you know what, this idea is just, maybe it's just crap, maybe I just wanted to do it, but I have to let it go. And then after that conversation, and I mean, it was a little bit of a joke, but also thinking about, okay, what do you really want to do this? Do you really want to just go for it? So I said to myself, okay, I'm assuming now that people don't want to do this, but I don't know if it's right. I don't know if that's true. So I decided to send an email again with the subject saying, help me solve a mystery. And I was really open and transparent. And I said, I was very surprised when nobody replied. I was really expecting a lot of people wanting to come after all the positive feedback that I got. So help me understand what happened and why you didn't sign up. And then everybody signed up. Oh, I just missed it, or I was on vacation, or
Mercury was in retrograde, whatever it was.
Retrograde, whatever. Thank goodness. Yeah, thank goodness for like the moon in Capricorn that Friday.
Thank you for sorting yourself out, universe. Thank you.
So those 3 dinners again got filled out very quickly, and it was fascinating. And at the end, on the last dinner, I met this fantastic woman, Marley Cock, and she said to me, you have to turn this into something. You really have to turn this into something. This is big. This is inspiring. And I said, wow, I don't know. I don't even know what to say. And that same week, Anthony Bourdain passed away. Mm-hmm. And I was a big fan of his work and his spirit. and that's when the name Dinner Confidential really came from confidential. And at that point, I realized, okay, this is something bigger, and to take it to the place where I think it wants to go, I cannot do it by myself. So I invited a dear friend of mine to come and partner with me. So at the beginning, it was three of us. My partner, Sibyl, who also has a similar background to me in research and brand strategy, and Alexandria, who is a designer. So the three of us really came together and gave birth to Dinner Confidential as it is right now. And we decided to really turn it into a global project to really understand more of the female psyche, really understand how we connect and how we connect with all these different topics, sensitive areas of our lives. And then be able to identify what are the differences, what are the similarities that all women around the world feel around these same topics. And then little by little, that's how we started to really grow it together and to turn it into this exciting platform that it is right now, that it continues to change and it continues to evolve, and it has a life of its own right now.
So how many cities are you in right now?
So we have about 20 something hosts. And not every city does the dinner each month.
Okay.
So sometimes we do like 16 cities, sometimes we do 8 cities. It depends on the availability of our hosts, but we have maybe close to 25. We have from Perth in Australia to Bogota, Colombia, Mumbai, India. We've done dinners in Tokyo, across many cities in the US, Sao Paulo, Toronto, Montreal, Madrid. So it's a global perspective.
That is amazing. So the first city was New York. Yes. Then you came to Miami?
Then I moved to Miami, yes. And Sibyl, she continued hosting the dinners in New York, my partner, and I started doing the dinners here in Miami. And those started pretty much almost a month ago. It's going to be a month in September.
So for the dinners, you have the same topic in all the different cities?
Yes. Every month we explore one topic. So the topic that we explored in July was anger. And then, so the whole month of July, we have dinners around anger all around the world. And then at the end of the month, all the hosts come together and we share what we learn without disclosing any personal information or any details or stories. We just simply share what are our learnings around this topic. And then the following month, so August, we share all of those learnings via Instagram, and also we read an article that we share on Medium. And now this month, August, we are exploring trust. And I'm having actually my dinner next week here in Miami.
Very nice. So what year did this start?
So the women's circles in my house started last January 2017. 2017? No, January 2018. So last January. And then Dinner Confidential, as it is now, it started last September.
Wow, so you are coming up on a year.
We're coming up on a year, exactly. So we are, it's our 1-year anniversary next month.
Very nice. Congratulations on your 1-year anniversary.
Thank you.
So you do your dinners there. How much are the people paying? How many people do you have? How does it work for the host? Are the hosts cooking the dinners? Let's hear the actual, like, how it goes down.
Yes. So the dinners are only $15. And we chose that price because we believe we want to make these dinners really accessible for women across every background. And we figure that $15 really it's a fee that a lot of people can pay. And many hosts also offer the option that if you cannot afford the $15, you can still come. And women are invited to bring something to drink, alcoholic or not. I've had women that made like amazing like flower teas. Someone brought like a gold rose tea as well. And the host either they cook their dinners, or they can, most of the hosts I think they cook their dinners, to be honest with you. Some of them they can cater, or they can order food, but for the most part they cook their dinners. And it's the food, even though it's not the primary character of the night, it plays a role. And we make food that it's healthy, that is light, because we're gonna be getting into deep conversations, and you cannot be feeling so full. But it's something that also feels very nourishing. And it's really interesting as well to see the different foods that the different hosts are making all around the world. So we have some ideas of things that we could do as well with that. And then the hosts, they're also doing this as a labor of love. Right now, none of us are really getting paid for any of this, but the reward that we're getting from this experience, it's huge for all the learnings that we're having, and really being able to connect with this global community of incredible, smart, and very warm women. All the women who are hosts, they have to have an experience in moderating group conversations. They're either researchers, or leadership coaches, or we have some academics, some people that work in academia, anthropologists. So it's a mix, but we want to make sure that we have, and of course, and women who are completely passionate to community and female empowerment and all of that.
Awesome. Well, in the Comadres, we love all of that. So it's such a cool idea to be able to take all these people around the world and have these conversations. So how do you know most of the hosts? Are they friends of yours? Have you recruited people? Like, where does that process come from?
Yeah, and so far it has grown completely organically. We haven't done any reach out to hosts yet, which has been such a gift to be able to have so many hosts already without us really trying to find anybody. But because both Sibyl and I, we come from the innovation brand consultancy research world, and we come from companies who are global companies, we already knew a lot of women from our organizations that were in that same space. So we just shared it with some of the women that had to work with us that were at different offices, and that's how it started. And from there, they have been referring their friends or women that they know. So it all has come through referrals, through friends of friends. And like a couple of months ago, I was talking to a woman she's from Poland, but she lives a little bit all across Eastern Europe. And she came referred from someone who came to Dinner Confidential here in Miami, but has some friends in Poland, and just that whole connection opened up. So it's been a mix. It's been a mix.
That's awesome. So the hosts when you get back together with the hosts, are you finding that the conversation is similar around the world?
Yeah, and we have a format. So all the hosts, they need to share like some like the top learnings that they heard, some loose like headlines of quotes, not exact verbatim, but just like some commentary, overall commentary. And they come together and we really share, okay, what are those top learnings that you heard? And often there's a lot of similarities, but there are also some dramatic differences. So for example, one of the biggest ones that I can think of, well, there are a few, but there's one recently, a few months ago, we hosted, it was a month of self-love. And so when all the hosts came together, we were all sharing like what we learned and just the challenges for many of us to really love ourselves with compassion and deeply, and with all our shadow parts, or all the things that we don't like, how difficult it is to really love the parts of ourselves that we dislike, we hate. But also the rituals that women have, self-care, all of that. So we were all sharing all those different stories. And then the host in India, she was just sitting there and she said, well, this was such a different dinner in India. We spent most of the night just talking about what self-love is. And she had women in her house from early 20s to 80 years old. And India, which is just such patriarchal culture, where women are really expected to do 1,000 things. This is her expression. Women are expected to do 1,000 things. And look after the house, and look after the family, and cook, and just always be available. The idea of taking care of themselves, of loving themselves, it's a very foreign concept. So that word actually doesn't even exist.
Doesn't exist,
that word in Hindi, or in many dialects or other languages that are spoken there. So when I was trying to find the word in Google, it translated it to selfish, or like being too concerned with yourself. Like they had a couple of different translations that were more related to being selfish. So that was really interesting to see how over there, just that concept doesn't even exist. However, younger generations, so the younger women at the table, they were really trying to fight this, to challenge this, and to share, to teach all the generations how it is possible to actually love yourself, look after yourself, take care of yourself, create healthy boundaries, and all of that. So that was a very, really interesting learning.
That is an interesting one. Are there any other months that you were really surprised by some answers? What other topics really got you?
Yeah, there was another. I'm trying to remember which was the topic, and I don't remember the topic now. But Tokyo, for example, what was it? I'm not remembering the topic right now. That was about like 8 months ago. But that dinner, basically, most of the conversation again wasn't about the topic, which I think it was failure maybe, and it was more about how hard it is to be a woman in Japan. Yeah. Again, because women in Japan are expected to just perfection, literally. And that's how media portrays them. That's what culture expects from them. So there's really yes, it was failure, because there's absolutely no room for failure whatsoever. And we may think that in the US, like failures, but there's so much conversation here. Actually, there's even like we are romanticizing failure right now in some ways. But over there really is just absolutely not an option. So a lot of the conversation was around how to be a woman, how to really be a woman there with all your imperfections, with all your beauty, with all your struggles. So that was really interesting, because we really connect and understand the challenges that some women in other parts of the world are really going through.
Definitely. I think the fact that you're having these conversations, not just in the intimate group, but like as a global conversation and bringing that back is so interesting. So are you taking this research and doing something with it?
Yeah, so we want to write a book after 2 years. So we have another year. And that was the original plan when we came together. Sybil and I, we wanted to write this book, and Alexandra was going to illustrate it. But we're definitely going to do that. And now, but other opportunities, other things are popping up. So we do want to share all of that. I think it's really important that we share everything that we've learned. And also, we'll see what other things come up. But we are interested in sharing it in other mediums, not only the book.
Awesome. Well, I look very forward to this book, but and whatever else comes up, I think it's such an interesting conversation to be able to have, and to be able to really see what women are doing around the world. How did you originally get this out, other than the first emails, like marketing wise, for the Comadres that have ideas like this? Like, how did you promote this out into the world?
To be honest, we haven't promoted it that much yet. So we've been really, it's it's been great that it's been growing organically, because it's so far the the reception or the openness that people have had towards Dinner Confidential has come very, very naturally. So right now, at the beginning, when I first moved to Miami, I connected with a few different communities. I connected with Las Comadres, with some women that I knew here from like my yoga place, and tried to spread the word. And now I am finding that, for example, next Thursday, that the women that come into my house, many of them, they found the event on Eventbrite, surprisingly, or on Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
So we do want to start actually just putting the word more out there. And that's talking about like the struggles or the challenges or the things that don't come that easily. This is one of those. We've been putting all of our efforts into really making sure that we have a great group of hosts, that the content that we are creating and that we're sharing, it's interesting, it's smart, is honest, and to our own dinners. But we haven't really thought about, okay, how can we just market ourselves? We've been wanting to write this like LinkedIn article for like months, and we haven't got around to do it. But we've had like a New York Times journalist reach out to us, potentially might come to a dinner. Who knows? Maybe we write something, maybe not. Other people, but it has come naturally. But it's something that we want to invest in, that we want to focus on. I personally have. I have struggled a little bit with, okay, how can I share all of this in a way that it's honest without sounding like salesy or anything like that? And I know, again, that I am not alone in this.
Oh,
I've
yeah.
heard from so many people, particularly from so many women. And so I'm trying to this is not about me. This is about Dinner Confidential. And I honestly see Dinner Confidential as its own thing, as its own entity. It's alive. It has its own desires, and I'm here kind of like to support it, really. So I think that's gonna be the next this new year. This new year, we're gonna be probably focusing more on marketing, more on PR, more on spreading the word. Also experimenting with new initiatives. We want to. We just hosted our first co-ed dinner last month, men and women.
How did that go?
In New York City, hosted it. Very, very well. Very different dynamic than you put a group of like 10 women together in a table, and very quickly they can open up and you laugh, there's tears, you share your life story. It's a lot easier. But when you have 5 women and 5 men, the dynamic really completely changes. But we feel that this is a very important part of the conversation, as we are trying to truly really move from a patriarchal culture to an inclusive culture.
Yes.
That is not going to be just a feminine culture, but it's just going to be like an inclusive. And I think that first we just need to leave the feminine, and so the patriarchal culture is just not dominating, and then really just integrating. So a lot of the work, it's around like feminine, but then I think it's a big piece of the work to just really start to integrate. And it's something that we definitely want to continue exploring. I'm going to be doing the first co-ed in Miami here in September on the topic of power, which is going to be an interesting topic.
I think it's so interesting to be able to include the men in this conversation, right? Because you have masculine and feminine energy, everybody has both. So, like, allowing the men to come into maybe a more women-centric energy or circle, or to be able to come into that and to be able to experience some of the feminine energy themselves. I think. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think to listen. to listen to one another, to really listen. A core pillar and value and support of Dinner Confidential is listening. We are really inviting people that come into this space to really listen at a different level, to really just be fully present. We are constantly listening in our heads, thinking about what am I gonna say next? Is it smart? Just what I have to do for dinner. We're in here, we're not fully present, but we're asking the people that come to really listen, like fully, active listening, compassionate listening with their full self. You are listening for the purpose of making sure that that other person is feeling supported, is feeling heard, is feeling really seen. Because there's no advice giving, there's no recommendations that we invite into these conversations. So really the medicine is in that deep listening without judgment, or I mean the mind can do whatever it does, right? Because you cannot control it, but not engaging in that judgment, just really simply being just here, fully present. And I think that when we're able to hear just women together, but also now with the men, just really listen to one another without an agenda, without trying to convince one another, without trying to fix, but just to really just be fully there, present, listening. To different opinions. I think that's incredibly healing and powerful. I actually hosted a dinner recently, but a couple of months ago, about abortion, and I invited women that sit across the spectrum on the abortion conversation to just simply just come and listen to each other.
How was that conversation?
It was really, really, really interesting. It was really interesting just to be able to just simply, that dinner had a slightly different format, because sometimes women share and then you can ask a follow-up question, or you can share a reflection, or just something that triggered you personally without advice or anything. But here there was nothing that you could say after each share, just to really protect the level of the safetyness. You're here to share whatever you want to share, and nobody is going to comment, ask, or say absolutely anything. You're here, you have the stage for you to just share what you believe. And there were a few different questions, so we did 3 rounds, each round with 1 question, and each woman just simply shared their story as they relate to abortion from different areas, from different perspectives within the spectrum. So it was really, really, insightful. And what you realize, or what I realized, is that really it's a much more nuanced conversation than what we read on the news. It is not just pro-life, pro-choice. Within the pro-life and within the pro-choice, there are just so many different nuances in there, and ultimately everybody kind of wants the same thing, which is just to protect. Whatever what you're protecting might be different, but ultimately what you're hoping to get is to protect and to embody the feelings of protection, of love. But it's coming. It depends on what you're believing. So anyway, I'm diverting here into that conversation, which I can stay hours talking. But the important thing was to really be able to listen, and I think that that's a huge part of Dinner Confidential, and a huge part as well of our mission in general, just to really create spaces where people learn to listen more deeply, and just to listen for the sake of connecting with someone else at a very deep level.
And I think that is like the most important thing that we all need to learn at this moment in time, right? To really be able to listen to all the people around us and hear their different opinions. Their opinions matter, and I think that people can, if you can listen, then they're not getting as loud, right? Like feeling heard is a human need, right?
Exactly, absolutely, yes.
So our final question on this podcast is always the word comadre means mothers and godmothers, what they call each other. It's a relationship built on complete trust and sisterhood, and knowing someone out there has your back and support fully. Tell us about one woman in your life who plays the role of comadre. Who is she and what does she mean to you?
That's such a wonderful, beautiful question. Hmm, so I have there's a few that come into my mind, and which one do I want to talk about? I'm gonna say my mom, even though part of me feels that's cheesy and that, but
We can even hear about more than one. It is fine.
but I'm an only child. I have a sister and a brother from my dad's side, but I am an only child with my mom, and we have a very close relationship. And now I am a mother. I have a boy and a girl, and I'm always thinking, okay, how can I not replicate the same relationship, because I'm different, my children are different, but giving them that same sense of security that no matter what, I always felt growing up that no matter what I did, um, my mom will always have my back. So I never really had to hide. I mean, I told my mom the first time I had sex or the first time I tried drugs. Like, I knew that she would support me in a way, not to say, okay, just go crazy and just take all the pills that you want. No. She would listen to me, and she wouldn't be judging me. She really wouldn't be judging me. Um, and that, I think, it's something that I want to pass along. And that's when I think about a comadre, that someone really has your back. It's someone that you can truly go in and share things um, that they might not approve necessarily, but they are going to listen to you. They are going to be present with you, and they're just to be there, just to simply be there like a rock. Um, and I hope to be that for my children, and I also hope that the space that we create in Dinner Confidential is that for a lot of other women. I haven't thought about it in this way until you asked this question, but I think maybe a lot of that comes from that relationship with my mom, and particularly this way of connecting when I truly felt that I could I could be my full me in there. Um, and then I have just absolutely wonderful, just soul friends that I just adore, um and they're so important in my life. For me, having friends, community, that's really, really crucial. And I think that's probably what Dinner Confidential started, just when I was feeling that sense of loneliness, which is really just the biggest problem that we all have, believing that we're alone when that's absolutely not true. um, so yes.
Well, thank you for doing what you do and what you're putting out there into the world. Dinner Confidential is a beautiful, beautiful experience for people to be able to be heard and to really hear and listen to other people around them. What are the best places to find you? Where do you hang out on social media? What's the good ways to get a hold of you and see what Dinner Confidential is up to?
Yes, so you can check our website, www.dinnerconfidential.org, or Instagram at dinner.confidential, and on Medium Dinner Confidential, where you can read our articles, and as well as on the website. And yes, on the website you will find all the information about the upcoming events. We are doing a special Las Comadres dinner actually in September for the beautiful community. So yes, please reach out, stay in touch. Thank you so much.
So, well, thank you so much for being on, and we look forward to seeing you at some more Comadres things.
Thank you so much, Amy.
Las Comadres is a community of entrepreneurial women reclaiming sisterhood and uplifting each other in life and in business. Music for the Las Comadres podcast provided by Afro Beta. Learn more about our community and join us at lascomadres.club.